The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, look, that's 10:02. Names have been called already.
That's right.
Names have been called already. Elliot's usually quiet till about 15 minutes into the show. He's loud. He's passionate. He's excited. He's a little sad. He's Elliot Rearing, everybody. Good morning, Elliot. Good morning. Welcome to Off the Bench.
Wow, what a start. What a beautiful start. Yeah, I come in here and Kenner's like, oh.
No!
Kenner comes in here. He's like, oh, how's everybody doing? And Joey Votto didn't want to win because he made TikToks in the year 2020.
To be fair, are we going to blame him? Because I didn't even bring up TikTok. My goal today was
That's
to come
true.
in
It was
have...
Casey's fault.
Well, Casey, good morning. Welcome to Off the Bench.
Good morning. You see, I was scrolling through Joey Votto stuff, just people talking about how much they love Joey Votto and how much they appreciate Joey Votto. I personally never got to experience the greatness of Joey Votto. I became a fan just 2 years ago. Literally. So I didn't get to experience the greatness that is Joey Votto.
7 years
but
too late.
I've heard all this talk about him being on TikTok. I'm like, come on, it's TikTok, whatever. I scrolled past one of his TikToks of him mocking a girl who's wearing a Ron Weasley wig and a skirt.
I believe that's the Doja Cat.
Is it Doja Cat?
I believe so.
Yeah, and he's doing the exact dance, and he's like getting down to it, and I said something kind of inflammatory to fire up Elliot and Kenner. I said, I kind of get where Kenner's coming from. He was making those dances while losing. What are we doing?
No, hold on. We are not doing this because the whole purpose is.
I mean, let's do it.
Yeah, where were you?
Let's just do it.
Where were you 2 months ago?
To be very clear, I don't care. He's doing TikToks. I don't care. Votto
I hope
can
not.
do
I haven't
do
slept
it.
Chat
in
is
years.
turning on you, Casey, and
But
it's happening.
I understand where Kenner's coming from in a way. I would be, if I'm going to put myself in his perspective, if they were in the middle of their 100 losing game season,
I think that's what
and Votto is, or let's just do a different team. If Jamar Chase is doing TikTok dances while we're 2-10 on the season, I'm going to be a little mad.
Because if he didn't do TikTok dances, we'd be 16-0.
No, not that. I'm just like, why post something like that? I don't know. It just, you can post other things that are not like that. It's just weird.
How else would he got his money's worth out of that Harry Potter costume? You pay for the thing. Those costumes aren't cheap. You got to use them.
So let's
Should've went to the
regather
front
here
office for it.
because at no point was this a part of the rundown for today. At no point. I swear.
It shouldn't be allowed.
I swear on a stack of Bibles because at the end of the day, when I first met Elliot, this was our introduction to one another, was this particular take, and he has not let me live it down since. And now he thinks that my whole take on Votto was I hate Joey Votto, and I do not. My first Reds jersey I ever bought was, no, that's not true. Ken Griffey was the first Reds jersey I ever bought. The second one was Joey Votto.
He wanted to win.
Bury the guy.
Time out. I didn't have TikTok back then. But no,
You're
Joey
out of
Votto is one of my all-time favorite Cincinnati Reds. Joey Votto, I was a huge fan of, am still a huge fan of. I had used that take. I held him to the standard that I did all-star players that lead a team. It is what it is. But that take has been has just been thrown at me ever since me and Elliot have met. But I swear on a stack of Bibles, whatever you want to put in front of me, that was not going to be brought up today. I blame Casey. I love Casey, but Casey, I'm glad that you have my back. But 2 months too late.
Bad timing.
I could have
No,
used.
no. Hang on. Back up. I said I understand where you're coming from. I don't support you in this whatsoever.
Casey
I
brought
do
it up
not
just to
support
bury
you.
you.
I do not support this vendetta that you have against
There's
Votto
no
not going to the
vendetta.
front
Now you
office.
sound like-
That's just dumb.
There is a vendetta.
All right.
Can we
well,
get into positive Joey Votto?
Yes. So
Well, no. It's just like I've had to argue these nonsensical things. Joey Votto walked too much. He led the league in intentional walks 3 times. You think other teams were walking him because they were afraid of his walking ability? Do you think that's what was going on there? No, probably not. They were afraid to give him a pitch anywhere near the middle of the zone.
I think for most of his career it was the lack of fear of any of the other 8 guys in the lineup.
Yeah, it's just like this tired notion that like Joey Votto didn't want to win. He was the best player every year. All he did was win. That's all that he was. Take away Joey Votto from the Reds the past 20 years. You want to get sad? We'll get real sad. We don't win anything ever.
So
we don't win games. We don't win seasons. We don't win divisions. We win nothing over the past 20 years. Nothing. Zero. Zip.
So let's restart because let's restart.
Please.
Let's restart because this. I want to apologize. I mean, me and Joey.
Can we
Votto
run the
go back
intro
years.
again?
Yes. Let's run the intro again. We're not restarting the show. We're just redoing the intro. We're going to give Joey Votto's retirement announcement the respect that it deserves, Casey. You understand me? Are we on the same page?
Yeah, Casey.
Yeah, we're on the same page.
Can you lock in, please?
Yeah,
Please,
I'm
Casey,
locked in.
Just
one
for
day.
one
Just
time.
one
I'm
time.
locked in. I'm
Hot take,
sorry.
Casey.
Jeez Louise. All right.
From the top.
The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a 3rd MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Everybody, welcome in. Good morning. I hope you all are doing well. I know you're wondering, what are we going to talk about today? There was a big announcement. One of the greatest Reds of all time has called it a career, and that's what we'll open up with coming up here in a moment. The Cincinnati Reds, they do something they have never done in the history of their existence. We'll get to that shortly. Jamar Chase, we now know what the asking price is. And let's get, of course, to the panel. We don't have a producer today. Let's go to Elliot. Elliot, good morning. How are you, sir?
I'm doing good.
Good to
I'm doing
see
really
you.
good.
First time we've talked today.
Yes,
That's right.
yes. Listen, the Reds came back and won a game last night. There was some other news regarding one of my favorite players ever to play the sport. And yeah, it was an emotional night. It was a good night. And we come in here, it feels great outside. Great outside. The weatherman said apparently that the hot 95-degree weather's coming back soon. So enjoy this while you can. I'm going to enjoy it. But yeah, it's a beautiful day. What a special day it is.
Jacob, it is a special day. I see
It
you have that
is.
Bengals polo on. Chatterbox Bengals.
Chatterbox Bengals.
Comes up later today.
Back today. Starting today. I'll be live.
Oh.
I'll be live for the whole game. We'll do have a post-game show and everything coming for you. So make sure to tune into that. Really excited to get started with that. It should be fun for everybody.
All right. Well, again, we came on a little late today. About 8 minutes late. We had to, but we're off and rolling. We're off and rolling here. What we got? We got a super chat. Elliot, what we got?
I'm not reading that yet. We'll read that later.
You're not. Oh yeah, we don't need to restart.
We'll read that in the second segment.
Fair enough. All right. So last night, I get a text from Elliot saying, "Oh, what was the exact text? So you're gonna have a great show. It's gonna be a fun show tomorrow, or something."
Well, let me see. Let me get my exact.
Get the exact. Yeah, I don't want to misquote you. dude.
Correct. Hold on. Here we go. Hold on. Here we go. I texted Kinner, good luck on. I texted Kinner, good luck on the show tomorrow, clown. Yeah. Spelled it with a K.
So when I
that
saw
was a
that,
given.
I was like, "What happened?"
That was a given.
So I didn't check the Reds lineup. I'm like, or the Reds Blue Jays lineup. So I'm like, oh man, maybe Votto got called up. Maybe Votto hits a freaking home run, against the Reds. I'm like, oh man, what happened last time? Maybe Jamar Chase signed an extension. What happened? So I go and check, and I see. Well, there was a big announcement made on the old Twitter machine, and Elliot or Casey, do you have it queued? Or producer, we shall not mention today. Producer, do you have it lined up?
Yes, I do have it lined up. Here we go.
That's it. I'm done. I am officially retired from baseball.
Joey Votto, one of the greatest Cincinnati Reds players of all time, obviously trying to fight his way through the Blue Jays system. Obviously, signed by the Blue Jays in the offseason, rolled his ankle during a spring training game and has been battling back ever since. Just couldn't, get it done, and he calls it a career, and I like the crossover of basically announcing his retirement that just so happened to be in a series against the Cincinnati Reds. Now that the tears have been wiped and that the emotion is calmed down a bit, Elliot, initial reactions. In all seriousness, it's kind of weird. So the retirement announcement, I felt like we said our goodbyes to Votto for real, like when he had that final at bat, that final farewell, when he kind of tipped the cap to the Cincinnati Reds fans at Great American Ballpark last year. I actually wish he would have just retired completely last year. I respect the fact that he tried to come back and continue to prolong his career. But no, the final farewell made last night across Twitter and all social media channels and across Reds country.
I was thinking about this last night, what I was going to say about it. And I have kind of already said it like you said. It was when he retired from the Reds, or when he left the Reds, I guess I should say, it was pretty much over. I knew he was never going to come back to Cincinnati and wasn't going to play one more game here. I knew what was going on, and I did think he was going to get back to the league. I did think he was going to play one more game. But at the end of the day, it didn't happen for him, and that stinks. But Joey Votto is going to go down as one of the most underappreciated athletes ever. And not just in baseball, in any sport, period. I had to, at least earlier this week, I had to fight off people who constantly think that Joey Votto just didn't want to win here. He didn't care enough. He walked too much, yada, yada, yada. And there was a portion, maybe even during my time with this fandom, being a Reds fan, and you go to the ballpark, you hear Jay Bruce's name, and everyone's going, Bruce, and he's hitting monster tanks. And you go to Brandon Phillips. Brandon Phillips has excellent defense. He's a gold glover. He's a fan favorite. And you keep going down that lineup. Todd Frazier's got the cool walk-up song. He's hitting home runs without his hands on the barrel of the bat. And you keep going down the line, and you see all these exciting players. And there in the 3-hole is Joey Votto. And he's always there. And you don't really even notice him, but he's there. And you don't notice him because every single night he was there, he was better than everybody else. He was just a constant every single season for the Reds. He spent 17 seasons here. He had a 17-season Hall of Fame career with the Cincinnati Reds, and I couldn't be more thankful for it. I wish more Reds fans appreciated what he did, because if Elly De La Cruz becomes even close to what Joey Votto is, we have a great player there. And that's why I know Trace and Kirby were talking about it. Enjoy Elly De La Cruz. Don't take for granted what you have right now with Elly De La Cruz, because in 17 years you might miss it. I look back at my time as a fandom. I go down with my grandparents and my dad, and it's almost like I didn't even pay attention to Joey Votto. That's what I feel like now. It's almost like I just took for granted what he was. He was just a solid constant that this lineup needed to be even remotely competitive. I know the Reds haven't had a ton of winning seasons. I understand that. I try to not be as negative as I am. But one of the best things that I've ever had in my entire life as a sports fan is the ability to watch Joey Votto for 17 seasons here in Cincinnati. I thank him very, very much. I think he deserves to be a first ballot Hall of Famer. I think that there should be a statue of him outside a Great American Ballpark. I think he's going to go down as probably the greatest Red in my lifetime. So I thank him very much. I'm very sad to see him go. I wish he would have had at least one more bat in Major League Baseball. It didn't go that way. But yeah, I'm sick of the fans that just never appreciated, never wanted to appreciate. They overpaid him. They paid $25 million for a guy that had a Hall of Fame career, and people are upset about it. They intentionally walked. He led the league 3 times in intentional walks. Yeah, he had a lot of walks. It's because his plate discipline was better than everybody else's. So yeah, I'm very happy Joey Votto was a Red. Joey, I'm going to miss you. And that's it. I thank him very, very much. I'm hopeful that he comes back in some capacity as a broadcaster for this club. I think that would be really cool. I think he's good at it. Yeah, I'm at peace with it. I think Joey Votto deserved a good send-off. I'm glad he did it this series. He could have done it any other series. He decided to wait until Cincinnati came back. I don't think there was anything into that. I think it kind of lucked out a little bit. But I'm glad he got to say goodbye to the team last night, and he stopped in and waited in the clubhouse. So yeah, I'm at peace. I'm happy for Joey Votto, and I'm happy he was a Red.
I'm really happy with the way it ended in Cincinnati as well. Obviously, you wish he didn't get thrown out of his last game. You wish that team would have made the playoffs and all that stuff. But for him to wrap up his Reds career really kicking off the next era, playing with Elly, playing with McLean, playing with that young core coming up, being here for the start of Hunter Green and Nick Lodolo's career and really ushering in this new era of the Reds that we expect to win more than his era ever did, hopefully.
Yeah.
And for him to be there for that and really pass the torch, hand it off to the next group of guys, I think that's just a perfect way when we look back on his career to see it sandwiched with a lot of success in the early 2010s. An MVP probably should have been 3. If he didn't get hurt in 2012, he was going to break the all-time doubles record. And then 2017, we've talked about that at length over the years. So probably should have been 3. He's a Gold Glover. He's a Silver Slugger. Right? There's nothing more you can talk about with the guy. He's nothing short of a Hall of Famer, and he should definitely be their first ballot. And I know for myself, when you think about watching sports teams growing up, Joey Votto's a name at the top of the list. He's the guy that was always there day in and day out my entire childhood. And whenever he does get that plaque in Cooperstown, I'm going to do everything in my power to be there, because I think that's just going to be a really, really cool moment for anyone even remotely close to my age, because he is the Reds for anyone that didn't get to see the 90 World Series, basically.
All right, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reacting again, Joey Votto calls it a career, retires less than an hour before the first pitch last night between the Blue Jays and the Cincinnati Reds in Game 3. Joey Votto finishes his career hitting .294, 356 home runs, a .920 OBS, and again, did all that in over 2,000 games, no doubt about it. All right, let's continue on with the reaction to the Votto retirement, because there's so many layers to this, right? My goal today was to make this as positive. I know we had fun at the beginning of the show. Casey, I'm not really mad at you. He's probably like, be quiet, dude. Like, I don't even care at this point. It's like, try to have your back just a little, and you just drown me over here. No, but we'll pick up with more of this when we come back. More Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Reaction, Joey Votto, one of the greatest Cincinnati Reds of all time, calls it a career. We'll be right back. All right, we welcome you back. Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Joey Votto announces his retirement before last night's Game 3 between the Reds and the Blue Jays. And Reds come out on top. They do that in dramatic fashion. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment, because while we are, of course, reacting to the retirement of one of the all-time greatest Reds last night, we just see the early legacy of what hopefully another Reds all-time great moving forward. Reach a cool career milestone last night. We'll get to Elly's big night coming up here in just a bit, but reacting to everything Joey Votto. So I know, like we were joking about earlier, me and you, our paths crossed at the time that it was just bad timing. I had this take, initially early on, it was about Joey Votto.
It's good sports talk. It's good sports talk.
So, but the bottom line is no, Joey Votto had a very tough job and responsibility in Cincinnati. Responsibility, relax with where I'm going with this, right? Like, the problem is I don't think there's a star player at any organization that doesn't have a 50-50 split of those who will literally praise him until the very end and blame him for the success or lack thereof that doesn't come with the organization as a whole. The reason, I do feel bad, that's why I did not want to jump into the negative stuff with Votto today, because I do believe today across all sports radio, especially here especially in Ohio, it should be about talking about the praise of Joey Votto. But I understand where the negativity comes from some, because it's not a Joey Votto thing. It is the guy that is paid the most on any team is always going to carry the burden of being blamed for the failures and being given the credit for all the success. And that's just the nature of it. Now, baseball's a little bit different. I completely get that. I mean, I'll never forget watching a team like the Washington Nationals. The face of your franchise at that time was Bryce Harper. You trade away Bryce Harper. You would think that you are embarking on a rebuild, right? Like, you're moving on from Bryce Harper. You move on from Bryce Harper. You send him to the Phillies, who at the time they go out and get TJ Realmuto, a catcher. They add Bryce Harper in the offseason. And you think, man, the Phillies are about to just kick some ass that year. Well, Washington goes on to win a World Series that year after moving on from Bryce Harper. And Bryce Harper is watching the playoffs with JT Realmuto and with the Phillies from home. Like, baseball's a weird sport, all right? And just like any other sport, Joe Burrow is not the only reason the Bengals win football games. He needs a lot of help around him too, right? But Joe Burrow's going to get all the credit. Joe Burrow's getting a lot of praise right now early in his run in Cincinnati, the same way Joey Votto got a lot of praise early on with his run in Cincinnati. But if Joe Burrow plays another 10 years and never gets a Super Bowl and never, delivers on that, you're going to remember the playoff success. You're going to remember, the vibe and the feel of the team with him leading the way. But there will be those who turn on him at some point if he doesn't deliver on that. That's the nature of sports. That's the nature of any sport. That's the nature of the NBA. We were talking about how funny people are, fickle people are with NBA stars because you have a player like LeBron, for instance, gets drafted by Cleveland. He's there for 7 years, okay? They don't really do they give him an aging Shaquille O'Neal. They give him a lot of old players. They're not really, they're having success. They got to the finals, but they weren't really adding true pieces to take them to that next level. LeBron takes his career in his own hands and says, hey, for me to be the greatest, I have to win championships. That's your rules, not mine. That's not his, right? It's your rules. He goes, wins championships, and you move the goalposts on him. Well, now you're chasing championships. We always move the goalposts. The bottom line is Joey Votto, I do believe, is getting more than his fair share of praise today, Elliot, but he's always going to get the criticism because I think that's not, I'm not saying he deserves it, but I will say any player that is the highest paid player, a franchise player, that's just the nature of it. They're always going to get the negativity. I just think the negativity feels dirty today. I just think it feels dirty today, I guess, because it should be all about the retirement and the praising for what he meant to the city of Cincinnati. Because to your point, Elliot, 10 years of losing, that was a horrific decade in Reds history, and it feels like it's bleeding into this one right now. Imagine if he wasn't there. There was at least a reason to go to Great American Ballpark. There was at least a reason to tune into Reds baseball. There was at least a reason that national sports talk show hosts, there was a reason that people around the country, when you thought of Cincinnati Reds baseball, you thought of Joey Votto during that time. So as bad as the Reds have been for over this past decade and some change, at the very least, the one bright spot, the one guy that you thought of when it came to the Cincinnati Reds was Joey Votto. So that's what today should be about, is about the praise of a guy that was the face of a franchise that didn't have a whole lot to cheer about, but you felt warm and you felt excited about the Reds. You felt just something at the ballpark, and it was because of Joey Votto.
Yeah, I look at Mike Trout, and I'm not going to compare Joey Votto to Mike Trout, but I look at Mike Trout, and he's been arguably the greatest player in his generation. I don't think anybody looks at Mike Trout and says the guy didn't want to win. I don't think anybody looks at Mike Trout and says, why didn't he put pressure on the front office? How did he handle the mantle of being the only good player? I think Mike Trout gets away with it, and I think I'm not bashing Mike Trout. He's a Hall of Famer already, and his career is not even close to being done. So I don't know. I understand, I guess, a little bit of the. I associate Joey with losing because our team wasn't good while Joey was here a little bit. But at the same time, Joey's a Hall of Fame player, and he had no responsibility when it comes to signing baseball players or paying people. It's the front office. The front office is who everybody should be blaming. Instead, you look at Joey Votto, and they say Joey Votto took $25 million from the roster. I don't know if that contract's a top 20 contract in today's Major League Baseball. Maybe at the time it was, but at the same time, $25 million for a Hall of Famer, I'd make that trade every day of the week. Every single day of the week. Nick Castellanos got $20 million to go play in Philly. I don't think Castellanos has had a great career in Philly so far. So yeah, I don't know. I'll never understand the city's lack of appreciation for Joey. I think more than not, certainly appreciate Joey Votto, but there's always that weird negative group that just didn't think he wanted to win or wasn't good enough or walked too much. Now, for those people, I don't understand it. And without me insulting their intelligence right here, I probably shouldn't say anything. But it's one of those things where I think most people thank Joey Votto. I do, certainly. And again, I hope one day this city comes to appreciate, everybody in this city comes to appreciate the career of Joey Votto.
Last night, I think whether it shriveled that group a little bit or whether they just decided to be quiet last night.
Yeah.
It was overwhelmingly positive, and I think that is a good representation of the Reds fan base. Obviously, there's reply guys that are, saying whatever they want about the walks and everything else, but I think the fan base, now that he is gone, even some people who might have had, adverse feelings to him when he was here, not being all the way in on Joey Votto, now that he's gone, now that he's retired, I think people recognize what we did have for 17 years. Looking back at those career numbers, it's just staggering. I mean, I spent probably an hour on his baseball reference page last night just looking at all the different years. And he was an incredible player, truly incredible player. and he's going to be a Hall of Famer. And how many Hall of Famers are you going to get to see in your life? I mean, think about, we're already talking about with the core of this current Reds team not being sure about, some of these guys long term, and they're in their early 20s. We're talking about a guy that played at an MVP level until he was about 37. So I don't know what else there is to say about Votto other than that he was the greatest thing Cincinnati could have asked for in an era where they needed it. And he did everything that we asked him to do. He went out there every single day, and he played hard, and he played well, and he put up numbers, and he was a good fan and a good player for the fans and a good representation of the team to the national media. And that's all you can ask for with a star, is you want a guy that you can root for in between the lines and off the field, and that's exactly what Joey Votto was. Plenty of times you have, star athletes and whatnot where you're talking yourself into them. Well, they're a hell of a player. They're a hell of a player. But, I don't really care what they do off the field.
Yeah.
That was never the case with Joey Votto. It was always, no matter where he is, what he's doing, you love Joey Votto and you're proud that he's a Red. And I think that's something that gets lost in the shuffle a lot of the time when you're comparing numbers and talking about a Hall of Fame career. Joey Votto did so much more than just be a Hall of Fame first baseman for this city and for this team. And I think that's something that's important to talk about as well.
He spent 17 years here. 17 years. He spent his entire career. Every game he played in professional baseball was for the Cincinnati Reds. That's a rare thing. You don't get to see that a lot, especially in today's age where it is about the money. Where it is, I'm just going to spend 4 years here. I think there's certain ex-pitchers who are currently playing Mexico. He came out and said, I'm only signing 1-year deals from now on, 2-year deals. I'm only going to sign 2-year deals because it's not worth it. I can still get more money. Everything's about money. I think Joey Votto liked the city. I think he wanted to be here. If he could make a lot of money in a city that he enjoyed, I think he was going to do it. I think he liked being in a smaller market. Yeah, I think Joey Votto is, as Jacob said, a great representative of this city. And again, I couldn't be more proud that he was a member of the Reds for his entire career.
And look, and I see people, Mouse Cop, saying that I'm the one that's bringing the negativity. I don't know if I am today. But look, and while we're on this, like, the bottom line is like I said earlier, I get everyone's frustration with those who want to be loud about the negative stuff. But, like, I don't feel bad for that only because that's just what comes with being the franchise player. That's always going to come with that. And the history of the Cincinnati Reds also creates this dilemma for Votto, because when you think about all the greatest players in the history of Cincinnati Reds baseball, they're all associated with winning. Right? Like that kind of works against Votto here. Not his fault, right? Like it's not, he's not the general manager. I get that. But like when you think of Pete Rose, you think of Joe Morgan, you think of Barry Larkin, you think of the biggest and best names in Reds history, you associate them with playoff teams, with World Series teams, with the Big Red Machine. You associate a lot of the biggest names in the history of the organization with those eras of winning, and obviously World Series, as we talked about. When you think of Joey Votto, for us, this generation, the younger generation that has been just punished by the Reds organization, I'm 34 years old. I technically was alive when they won their last World Series. I was like 1 year old, right? But technically, in my adult life, I've not witnessed any true success of this organization, and that span of Reds history, for me, the best player during that span of time is Joey Votto, and I think that's why a lot of people, when they think of Votto, they associate it with that. And that's just the nature of sports, whether it's right or wrong. The other thing, too, I see a lot of people bringing up the walks thing. Marty Brennaman got absolutely roasted during this time for saying something that was so beyond truthful that I have no clue how people got offended by it. I think we all understood what Marty Brennaman meant, but we wanted to simplify it to make it sound like Marty didn't understand baseball, which is just absolutely hilarious to me. When Marty Brennaman uttered the words, the Reds didn't pay you to lead the league in on-base percentage, right? Like, I know that was like the one thing, and they didn't pay you to lead the league in walks, right? Like, people, they were furious. They went at Marty for that. But I was like, I understood what he was talking about. I know but like when you are the highest paid player on the team, when you are the guy that is known for knocking the ball to the ballpark and driving in runs, a walk is a great thing. Get on base, yes. But situationally, there were times that, of course, would frustrate Reds fans and Marty. You have a team that's struggling to score runs. You have a runner in scoring position. You have Votto up. That's your best chance to bring in a run in a tight game. And he draws a walk instead of does what he can to bring in. Right or wrong, I understood what Marty meant during that stretch, during those times, because he was your best chance to bring those runs in. I know why people were frustrated. Imagine Joe Burrow, the highest paid quarterback in the NFL. Okay, let's just say all of a sudden he forgets how to play the quarterback position, and he's more concerned about completion percentage. And he no longer is throwing for over 200 yards a game, and he might get a touchdown every other game. But, hey, he leads the league in completion percentage, and a broadcaster comes out and says, well, Joe Burrow, the Bengals didn't make you the highest paid quarterback in the NFL to only lead the league in completion percentage. Like, it's your job to run this offense, to lead the team down the field, to score touchdowns. That's kind of what Marty was getting at, and that took on a life of its own. And Marty had a very influential voice, and I get that people grabbed that and ran with it, and that was kind of the moniker for Joey ever since was, oh, he cares more about walks than he does driving in runs. I believe that there's truth to both sides. Marty was right. You weren't paid just to lead the league in on-base percentage and walking. You were paid to drive in runs and all that. Technically, he did that, though, right? But I understand where the criticism for that came from, right or wrong. But I get what you guys are saying. But at the end of the day, to act like Joey Votto, that there is no room for any criticism at all when he was the face of a losing decade, not his fault. But that's just kind of the nature of it, though.
Yeah. I get the correlation between Joey Votto and losing because he was on a losing team. I can understand that jump. He drove in, what was that, 1,100 runs. 1,100. He had 3 seasons over 100 RBIs. I don't know, 3, 4, 5, 6 seasons above 90. 8 seasons above 80 RBIs. So I don't know. I think Joey Votto did his job. He hit above 300 in the majority of the seasons, it felt like. 9 seasons he was hitting 300 at least. If you're an average guy, if you're an on-base guy, when you have a career OBP of 409, you're a pretty good baseball player. Slugging a career 511 slug. Home run wise, again, he wasn't the world's best home run hitter, I guess. But there were certainly seasons in there where he had nearly 40 home runs. I can't look at Joey Votto's career and say he didn't want to win, he didn't do his job. He did his job, he did it well. And again, I'd argue a reason for a lot of those walks is because pitchers didn't want to throw to him because they knew what would happen if they did throw to him. So that's just my takeaway. And again, I don't want to spend too much on the negative here because most of the people in this city do like Joey Votto, but there are the few that will never understand him, and for those people, I feel very sorry.
All right, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Last night, outside of the Joey Votto retirement news, the Cincinnati Reds found themselves down 6-0. They come roaring back, and of course, with that win, they did something that they've never done in the history of the franchise. We'll talk about that more when we come back. More off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.
Record in doubles.
Yeah, he almost won.
All right, we welcome you back. Sorry, I was reading Mouse Cop being the biggest crybaby in the history of crybabies in the chat. So my apologies. Sorry, I got distracted. My apologies. Shout out to Mouse Cop though. Thoughts and prayers to you that you have a better day moving forward. But Reds come away with the win last night.
They did.
Down 6-0. I was furious. I was like, oh, here we go. This is the tailspin of all tailspins. Again, we talked about it yesterday. It's not that you lose, it's how you lose. The Reds have been inconsistent all season, but as of late, before last night's game, I think 4 of the previous 5, they had lost by at least 6 runs or more. And last night down 6-0, and I thought, well, that trend's going to continue. I stopped paying attention for a bit, come back, and they got 10 runs up on them. It was 9 runs at the time, and they put 1 more up, and they come away with the win. They've never won a series in Toronto. They've never beat the Blue Jays on the road, and they made history last night, a historic night for the Cincinnati Reds.
That's right.
I thought there was a chance they would come back. I thought there was a chance just because it felt like a weird game right from the start because nobody was paying attention. Respectfully, nobody was paying attention to that game for the first 4 innings. I think most people were just still focusing on the Joey Votto stuff, which I think is fair, and nobody really they're down 6-0. Nah, 6-0.
Yeah, just a little peek behind the curtain. I was on tweet duty last night, and the Reds went down 2 early home runs, I guess, by the Blue Jays. There was not a chance I was tweeting those highlights and burying Joey Votto's retirement with Blue Jay home runs. But the comeback was fun.
Yeah,
and it made the night really enjoyable.
Yeah, I listen. I bet $100 money line, Reds money line, when it was tied at 6-6.
Wow.
I felt there was a feeling in my gut where I was like, you know what? I think they're going to pull this one out. And they did.
When you let me know that you bet on the Reds, I was
You were nervous?
really hoping it was 0-6 when you bet on them.
No.
Because when you texted us, they had already taken the lead.
Yeah.
I was hoping you got him at crazy juice.
No, we bet them when it was tied. When the Reds tied the game, I had a feeling that they were going to win that game. So, good for the Reds. They win the first series ever in Toronto. Toronto, I'm not going to sit here and say is a good team, but I think they're better than what their record is.
Much.
I think they've got a lot of good talent on that roster. So good for the Reds. This is a good first step to bounce back from a absolutely atrocious series. And I'm hoping they can carry the momentum today and this weekend against the Pittsburgh Pirates, who you have to beat. Because, again, the Pittsburgh Pirates are terrible. And they'll always be terrible, and they always were terrible. Terrible.
I thought we were done following the standings, but just for those who do care.
Oh, I'm done following
No,
the standings.
we are.
Well, just in case. 5.5 back of the wild card, dude. 5.5. They made up a whole game last night with that win. Not bad. Not bad. So you're telling me they have a chance?
No, there's no chance.
I'm actually telling you the exact opposite.
If they start win 8 series in a row, and we'll have a conversation. That's when I'll have a conversation.
Well, they got one.
That's one.
You can't
That's
get
right.
8 if you can't get the first one.
That's correct. That's 100% correct.
You know me, Mr. Positivity.
If they get to 500,
that's how I've always known you.
If
Yeah.
they get to 500, I'll buy a little bit back in because they've been allergic. To that.
No. Above 500.
One single game above 500.
Game above 500,
Yeah.
then we'll talk.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
But yeah, I listen.
Just
I'm not,
3 below.
Again, I said it this whole week. It's your team. You're a fan of this team. Be excited when they have little series wins like this. I'm happy for them. I hope they take the momentum and carry it on. I haven't seen that yet this season where they've done that. So I'm hoping they do it against the Pirates because they need to win it. They absolutely have to win it.
Fair enough. Jake and I were talking before going on the air today. Like, when I saw they were down 6-0, there was a part of me that's like, just be bad.
Yeah.
Just be bad. Fold it in. Not quit, but just put us all out of our misery. Because they do something like last night. Like, I was annoyed that I started cheering last night. Not really, but you know what I mean. Like, it's like, stop doing this to us. Stop smacking us around and then apologize. And, like, just put us out of our misery, please, because I just want to know what this team is. And I feel like if this team just proves who they are, and they've proven who they are to this point, inconsistent. But, like, are they good or are they bad? I don't think they're either. I think that's been the problem all along. But the other thing I pushed out, too, because people, and by the way, like, people all up in their feelings about the Votto takes, I was just bringing up the justification for some of the opposite takes on this. I know a lot of these people believe that there's only one way to think in the world, and anyone who doesn't agree with them, that they're wrong. I was just bringing up different takes. So, again, I hope they can stop crying long enough to listen to this next part, because I feel like they might agree, and I texted this to Elliot last night. If the Reds have nothing to play for the rest of the way,
Yeah.
all right, I feel like there is something, like, because you guys see, you don't care about the standings. I try to bring up the standings. Yeah, I could feel the uncomfortableness. Like, you guys are like, oh, just stop, Kenner, the standings.
I want to care about it. It's not that I don't want to care about it.
For the Reds to finish above 500 this year would require their best 36-game stretch of the season. To finish 82-80, it would require their best 36-game stretch of the season. So, I'm not all the way in.
Yeah.
I just can't be.
And I think a lot of people agree with you. And I think a lot of people have checked out. A lot of people are more excited about a preseason game tonight with the Bengals with no starters than they are about the Cincinnati Reds at this point, and justifiably so. But I think we all know that the next 5 weeks of baseball is just, if you love the Reds and you just love baseball, you're going to tune in, you're going to watch, you're going to listen. It's a part of it, but you've lost your fire for it. You've lost your flair for it, and I get that. But the Reds organization a year ago, I remember talking with different people with the organization. There was a point where they had known that Joey Votto was not going to be a part of the organization long term. And there was a point where they had in their back pocket a way to position a farewell tour for Joey Votto without necessarily calling it that. But remember, it sounds weird saying winning got in the way. It sounds weird saying, but winning got in the way for the Cincinnati Reds last year. Remember, they were supposed to be a 100-loss team. Okay, this was supposed to be a rebuilding year last year. Or last year was supposed to be a rebuilding year. There wasn't a whole lot of expectations for last year's team. And the centerpiece of that was supposed to be Joey Votto, who we knew was entering the final year of his contract. I mean, the extension was very, very doubtful, and obviously it didn't happen. But there was talks of at least positioning the final month of the season to kind of be a farewell to Joey Votto. And I know there was that final at-bat where he gets the hit. He's able to tip the cap to the fans, and everyone's able to give him that standing ovation. But here's the deal. If Reds fans knew that that was going to be the final game that we ever saw Votto at Great American Ballpark, do you think that there would have been 27,000 fans there at 40, standing room only? A full ballpark to give him the farewell that he truly deserves, because you all think I hate his guts. I don't. I could just see both sides because that's what normal people do. But that's besides the point. So to me, at this point, if you have nothing to play for the final 5 weeks, and I don't care that 5.5 is what you're seeing in the standings, this team is who they've played for all of April, all of May, all of June, all of July, well, to this point of August. This is who they are. They're going to, as you guys have talked about, they're going to win a series, lose a series. They'll win 2 games, lose 3 games. They'll win 3 games, lose 2 games, win a game, lose 4 more. That's just who they are. They're so inconsistent. If you truly believe that this is a playoff caliber team, then great. I think that there's something there to work with, but we've seen enough to know that there's just not enough. To me, Joey Votto last year, winning got in the way, as wild as that sounds. Elly and everyone took off. It would have just been forcing a square peg in a round hole to make it about the Joey Votto farewell tour last year when this team was fighting for a playoff spot. They missed the playoffs by 2 games. I think right now, Reds fans deserve it. I think that Joey Votto deserves it. I think the organization owes it to him. And I think that Joey Votto won't do it, but I really would have loved to have seen not Joey Votto retire last night, but the Reds find a way to get Joey Votto back, put him in the lineup, promote it as the Joey Votto farewell tour, or promote the farewell series, or just promote it in some capacity for him to get the final farewell. To the credit of Reds fans, we all knew that was Votto's last game at GABP last year. You felt it. You could feel the emotion in the final standing ovation for him. You could see the emotion in his face when he tipped the cap to everyone because it was the fear of the unknown. Like he was like, I think this is my last at bat at GABP, but wearing this jersey, I don't know. The bottom line is, his career should not have ended with that, I don't know. His career should have ended with, okay, this is my final at-bat. This is my final tip of the cap to the fans. The fans should have known that this is my final chance to see Joey Votto with the bat in his hand at GABP. So regardless of all the emotional crybabies in the chat who think I hate Votto, okay, the bottom line is, I do believe that GABP should be full, 40,000 plus fans. It should be promoted. Votto should finish his career as a Cincinnati Red. He should be brought back. And if you're going to give at-bats to guys who can't hit, it might as well be a guy that has been one of the greatest hitters in baseball and Reds history. Bring Joey Votto back. The final 5 weeks mean nothing at this point. Is this going to happen? Probably not. But my God, what do you have to lose? I mean, you used Votto as a pawn to be the only draw that this team has for almost a decade plus because they didn't do their part to help this team get more weapons to win more consistently. What's 5 more weeks of doing the same damn thing? Bring Votto back, announce it, promote the farewell tour, and give one of the greatest Reds ever the proper send-off that he deserves.
I don't think Votto would have any interest in that. Everything he said the entire time as his career dwindled down is that when he wasn't going to be a productive player, he wasn't going to play anymore. And I think that's what we saw last night. He was waiting for this Reds series because he thought he had a chance to be called up by the Blue Jays to play against the Reds. And when that didn't come, he decided to hang it up. And I think he was not going to ever do a retirement tour and ride the bench or whatever the Reds proposed for him to come back this year and do. He wanted to go somewhere and compete for a major league spot and really contribute. And he didn't have that opportunity on the Reds. My guess, and obviously we don't know, but if I had to guess, I would say the Reds offered him a farewell tour last year. And he said, I'm going to try to make this team next year. And obviously they didn't pick up his option, and he went and tried to make a different team. I think he wanted to keep playing. I think the Reds probably gave him the option to announce a retirement at the end of the season, and they let him know they weren't going to bring him back or whatever the conversation went like. I think Votto declined that opportunity. I think he wanted to continue to play professional baseball. And until last night, I firmly believe Joey Votto thought he could play professional baseball.
Yeah, Joey Votto was never a guy who wanted attention. We've all known that about Joey Votto his entire career. It's why some people don't like him, is because he kept to himself. He kept quiet. I don't think he wanted to be about himself. I don't think he wanted that farewell tour. I could be wrong. Now, you could argue that the Reds should have given him one anyway out of respect. But if the guy doesn't want it, he doesn't want it. Again, I'm not going to pretend I know who wanted what, who should have done what. If I were the Reds, yeah, and looking back on it, if my options were pay Joey Votto $25 million to have me watch Joey Votto one more season and the Reds be bad, or the Reds can just be bad without Joey Votto, yeah, I would have paid Joey Votto $25 million if I knew it didn't matter. because again, this has been a massively disappointing season. One of the things I could have looked back and said, thank God I got to be able to watch Joey Votto one last time. That would have been a positive. I didn't get that, and that's fine. I would like to see Joey Votto sign a one-day contract here and do it that way. If they're able to get some sort of minor league deal done, and he's able to, if he wants to play for 5 weeks, sure. In a hypothetical world, I'd love that, but I don't think it's going to happen. He certainly couldn't be worse than Will Benson, and I say that with love and respect. Will Benson last night, the Reds had 11 batters come to the plate, and he made 2 of the outs in that inning. So tough for Will Benson. And I was going to talk about him at some point during the show as well, because I don't understand why he's still here on the roster right now. But we'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, Joey Votto, I don't think he would want to sign a contract and be bad and come up here and put on the Reds uniform for 5 more weeks and hit 150. I don't think he wants that. I don't want to watch him hit 150. I would love to watch him play for my team, but at the same time, I don't want to tarnish the legacy of a Hall of Famer, a Hall of Famer that many people don't think is a Hall of Famer, but I do. So I want to keep those numbers intact for now. Maybe it's selfish, I don't know, but I'd like the one-day contract thing. I want him to retire a Cincinnati Red, and I hope that happens at some point during the season.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410, ESPN Radio in Dayton. And by the way, I know there was no chance of that happening, bringing Votto back just for the final 5 weeks.
Yeah.
But my goodness, with watching, and again, I put that out there last night when they're down 6-0, and it looked like they were trending towards their, 5th, 6th-plus run loss in their last 6 games. And I'm like, my gosh, this is just getting out of control. At least there'd be a reason to go to the ballpark. One thing that happened last night, too, historical night, Elly De La Cruz becomes the 5th player in the history of baseball, not just Reds history, but baseball history, 20 home runs, 60 steals. Obviously, we've talked about the versatility of Elly De La Cruz, a historic night for him at the ballpark last night as well.
Yeah, first shortstop ever, 3rd Red. So pretty insane for him to do that in his first full MLB season. And to do it on August 21st is even crazier. So who knows what the heights are for this guy. I think 2060 is probably, as crazy as it sounds, probably going to be the floor for his production as we move on throughout his career. I think he's going to be pushing 80 every year of his career. I think he's going to be a 30 home run guy. I mean, the ceiling is the roof, as Michael Jordan said, for Elly De La Cruz. So he's going to be unbelievable. He's going to be an MVP caliber player for the rest of his career. And to see it truly coming together this early is... I had high hopes for Elly De La Cruz. I never had this high of hopes. Not at 22.
Nope. I didn't think he was going to be this good this year. I certainly had my doubts, and he has shattered my expectations, shattered them. He has every record that a 22-year-old can have. So, by the way, those 4 players, Ronald Acuna, Eric Davis, Rickey Henderson, Joe Morgan. It's pretty good company.
That's very, very good company. As far as that's concerned. All right, we'll step away for a few moments. You talked about Elly De La Cruz, the expectations that you had for him, and that he's totally surpassed those. I want to ask you, what were those expectations? What was Elly supposed to be a year and some change into his career as far as what expectations were? Plus, we got Elliot's headlines coming up around the corner, or Off the Bench next. All right, and we are back Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Bengals play their final preseason game coming up later on tonight, and of course, Chatterbox Bengals.
That's right.
You will be on the call, not on the call, but you'll be on the
I'll be
show.
doing whatever the people want me to do.
You a play-by-play guy?
I'll be on the live stream, and if they want play-by-play, maybe they get play-by-play. I don't know. We'll see, but come join the show later tonight. It should be fun. I'm really excited for it.
So that starts at what time?
The game's at 8, so we'll be on by 8 at the latest. But we're still trying to iron out the kinks about when we're going to get off the air. But at least by 8.
Very cool. Very cool. Yeah, football season. I know technically we've been talking football for a while, but it finally feels like it's here. High school football technically kicks off tonight. Week 0 college football coming up this weekend. Ohio State and Cincinnati, everyone else kicking off a week from Saturday. So pretty excited about that. But we're just talking, of course, the retirement of Joey Votto. The Reds do something they've never done before, take a series on the road at Toronto. Pretty cool. They come from behind. They were down 6-0, come back, put 10, 11 runs up on the board and come away victorious last night. That's pretty neat. Historic night for Elly De La Cruz, becoming the 5th player in baseball history, 20 home runs, 60 steals. But Jake, you said something a little bit ago that caught my attention when you said, he's totally surpassed our expectations. Like, we always have expectations for when guys get called up. I mean, you know what I mean? Like when Matt McClain got called up, we had expectations for him and Spencer Steer. And Elly De La Cruz is a different cat, though. I think the expectations for him were kind of in its own expectation category a little bit. Like for him right now to be one of the best players in baseball is pretty wild. To see his name constantly brought up in the MVP discussions, obviously that's Shohei's MVP to lose, but the bottom line is the fact that every time I'm watching MLB Network or anything and they show up the MVP candidates and to see Elly's face there, and he's just barely played over 160 plus games in his career. It's pretty fascinating stuff. What were your expectations when he initially got called up last year? He's surpassed all of them, but what were they? Who is he supposed to be compared to what he is at this point?
My expectations were that he was going to become this player. I always thought he was going to be an MVP level player at some point in his career. It's just the fact that he's done it like 200 games into his career, already becoming a bona fide superstar, is pretty insane. I mean, last year he ended the season on a pretty cold streak. He was bottoming out pretty hard at the end of the season, and he still finished with a 235 batting average, 300 OBP, and a 410 slug. It's pretty good for your first 100 games in the majors when you're still playing at a pretty high defensive level. And then this year, he's turned it all around. I mean, he has an OPS plus of 130.
Yeah.
League average is 100. I mean, he's above average in every aspect of the game, and the places that he excels, he is the best we've ever seen. So my expectations going into this season were to level out the peaks and valleys, as Nick Kroll said. I wanted to do that with Elly.
Yeah.
I didn't want the 10-game hot streak, the 5-game 1 for 30, and then back to a 10-game MVP streak. I didn't want any more of that. I just wanted consistent play and for him to really, really, level out, and that's exactly what he's done. I mean, he's been, and I don't even know if level out's the right word, he's been a consistent peak for 3 months. He's been nothing short of an incredible player. This is the dream for a 22-year-old in his first full season, is that he would come out and he would show that, hey, I am the guy. Because when we talk about everyone else, all the other young guys in this core that we've seen either battle injuries or steroids or just be bad, we don't know what we have in a lot of positions. But you know what you have in Elly De La Cruz, and what you have is someone to build the team around, someone to focus on, someone to put everything behind, no matter how long he's here, whether it's 5 years, 6 years, or whether it's 17 years, like Votto was here.
Yeah.
Put everything behind him, because you have another one. You have another generational talent. And you got to make something out of it.
Yep. I don't know what I expected. I expected a guy that was going to be similar to Billy Hamilton on the base path, which is somebody very exciting to watch. Some stolen bases. He has power numbers, so I thought he could be, hit 20 home runs a year, steal 40 bags, hopefully hit 260. He's excelled that. I didn't expect him to be a Hall of Famer. I didn't expect him to be an MVP. He's at 22 years old. He's broken every record he can break. He's almost an MVP. If he arguably might be the MVP if Shohei Ohtani wasn't in the National League. I know that's a cherry picking stat, but at the end of the day, I think that's fair. I couldn't have asked for a better player to follow Joey Votto than Elly De La Cruz. I couldn't have asked for a better one, because he's incredible. He's exciting. He loves the city. He loves the fan base. I know people talk about he learned English so he could talk to fans. He's a global superstar, and that's what I didn't expect. I didn't expect him to care as much as he does, and he cares way more than I ever thought. He loves the city. He loves to be here, and he's very good at baseball.
How many franchises, especially in baseball, have been as fortunate as the Reds? I mean, we could talk about all the losing. The losing is, from a franchise standpoint, stinks. But how many franchises have been fortunate? I like how you worded that. Can't think of a better player to, replace Votto as far as the when's the last time the Reds didn't have a face of the franchise player on the roster at least? And how many teams? I mean, I'm looking at teams Who's the face of the Marlins? Who's the face of the Mets? Who's the face of, like, there's a lot of teams in baseball that don't have a face of their franchise. And yes, I know the Reds have been losing for a decade plus, but like as we talked about earlier, you know, with Joey Votto, when you thought of the Cincinnati Reds for the last 10 plus years, you thought of Joey Votto right away. Now when you think of the Reds, you're going to think of Elly De La Cruz. I can't think of a time where the Reds did, you know, it was Griffey for, you know, a little bit. I know that's a different situation because he's wasn't homegrown, but you traded for him. I don't know the last time the Reds had a window where they didn't have a guy that when you thought of that the Reds, you thought of this face of the franchise guy. Not every team can say that across baseball right now.
No, I think that's one of the testaments to being a Reds fan. I guess we don't have a lot of wins, and that sucks. But we have had players here that the baseball world regards as some of the best to ever play. We've got to watch those guys. The 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010s, and now the 2020s. We've had pretty much a Hall of Fame caliber player, maybe a little too early for Elly, maybe, but a Hall of Fame caliber player in pretty much every single one of those decades.
Lindor, sorry. Yeah, you're right. My bad.
I don't think everybody gets to watch that. I really don't. I mean, I'm trying to think right now, and the Pirates come to mind. I don't know if the Pirates have had that for a long time. So I know
it was McCutchen.
They had
before,
McCutch. They had
and
McCutch.
Skenes is the next one.
Yep. So I don't know. I'm very, very, very thankful at times to be a Reds fan because they do know how to pick the one winner. They do know how to pick the one guy that can come in here and shake things up. Joey Votto, Elly De La Cruz, and we've had countless guys in the past. So yeah, it's awesome.
And some of them good homegrown guys too. That's the other part that makes that a little more special. So like Lindor with the Mets, superstar player.
Yeah.
Obviously. So I missed that one, Lindor with the Mets. But it's like it would feel more special if Lindor came up through the Mets system and they
100%.
developed him into that. The Guardians obviously have Ramirez at this point. Was it Lindor before? The Guardians have had, I mean, I know you guys talked about Bauer earlier in the week. Bauer would have been that for a brief moment, but then again, they had so many great pitchers.
I think it was Lindor the whole time.
The whole time?
Yeah. And then he handed it off to J-Ram. Well, I guess he handed it off to Bieber, who handed it off to J-Ram.
Yep.
How many teams have a pitcher? Like we talked about the Pirates. So the Pirates have Skenes, obviously, is the face of theirs. How many teams have the pitcher as that? I mean, I guess Shohei.
I think the Dodgers, for the last 15 years, Kershaw was the face of that team, no matter how many stars they got.
Yep.
Obviously, Shohei now, but
would Verlander have been that for Houston?
Certainly Detroit. Houston,
I think
Altuve.
I think it was Altuve, and even the one I was going to say Houston, but I was going to say Garrett Cole.
Yeah, Garrett
that
Cole.
That first year when they went, where he was in the bullpen.
Remember when Garrett Cole's with the Pirates? It was just a middle of the. I mean, he was just a middle of the rotation guy. Just not bad, but just not great. Like what he turned into is pretty wild. But bottom line is yes. Last night you guys talked about Chatterbox Reds. Enjoy Elly, appreciate Elly, especially on the announcement of Votto. Well, you guys talked about, some focused on the negative, whether that's me or not, whatever. There's some that focus on the negative. Some are talking about the positive. But, here he is retired, and we're looking back saying, oh, damn, we will never see Votto at Great American Ballpark again. You talked about taking it for granted. You just go to GABP. He's there. And now he's not. You know, Elly, man, only year number 2. Man, he's going to be around for a long time. And then all of a sudden, here we are 6 years later, and who knows what the future of Elly in Cincinnati is. Hopefully it's a long, long time.
In the next 6 weeks or so, the rest of this season, do you think we get a Votto night at JBP? Do you think he comes, stands on the field?
I bet he
clap it up.
I don't know if it'll happen this year. If
it doesn't happen this year, it happens in the first month of next year, right?
Yeah, he will
and
be
then
back.
he's the easiest opening day parade marshal of all time.
Oh
correct?
yeah.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Cool. Just glad we're on the same page.
Yep. I have some Votto facts. I came prepared with some Votto facts today.
Facts. Okay. I have one if you miss it, but I assume you have it.
This is courtesy of Ryan Spader on Twitter. He was tweeting some good ones last night. Joey Votto saw 35,630 pitches over 8,700 career plate appearances. He pulled a foul ball for an out just one time.
That's incredible.
His entire career, he pulled a foul ball for an out one time. Joey Votto saw 35,630 pitches over 8,700 career plate appearances. He popped out to the first baseman 3 times.
And he went a huge stretch between that second one and that third one. Wasn't it seasons?
Oh, yeah.
It was
decades, maybe. Joey Votto, I'm not going to say the pitches and plate appearances. His entire career, he popped out to the catcher 4 times for his entire career. Joey Votto popped out to the second baseman 8 times. He popped out to the pitcher. Any guesses on this one? In his entire career, how many times did he pop out to the pitcher?
2.
I'll go 1.
I'll say 0.
1.
Damn it.
1 time. He pulled a fall ball. I already read that one, and then this is a good one too. He could go 0 for 477. He could come out of retirement, go 0 for 477 in his next 477 at bats, and he would still have a higher lifetime on base percentage than Tony Gwynn.
That one's crazy.
This is a good one. There are 14 players in MLB history to have more career walks than strikeouts. Or 14, sorry, I think I said that. There are 14 players in MLB history to have more career walks than strikeouts. Ted Williams, Babe Ruth, Barry Bonds, Lou Gehrig, Mickey Mantle, and at number 6, Joseph Daniel Votto. And finally, this was from C. Trent. Joey Votto was the 44th pick in the 2002 MLB draft. It was called the Moneyball draft. Much of the book focused on the A's draft. On base percentage, you have to get on base to win. Joey Votto won 7 OBP titles, and the A's picked 7 players ahead of him.
Not bad. So he's pretty good? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, he's up there with some of the best company there is.
All right, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. I know we have ad reads with Casey coming up. We'll get into some Bengals stuff.
I wonder if the narrative was Lou Gehrig walked too much.
I mean, he only popped out to the catcher and pitcher a few times. He never swung the bat.
There you
watch.
go.
Yeah, that's what people say.
Run the intro.
I wonder
Run
if
the intro.
I wonder if Ted Williams walked too much, and if that was the narrative. Mickey Mantle.
I didn't say he walked too much.
I know. I'm talking about other people.
They say it.
Oh, well, apparently only I say it.
Babe Ruth historically walked too much.
I mean, he could have
take one look at Babe Ruth. He didn't walk enough.
Damn it! You beat me to it. You beat me to it. All right, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Casey on the YouTube side will take over here for with the ad reads and housekeeping items, and then of course we'll get into some Jamar Chase Cincinnati Bengals stuff. The Bengals wrap up their preseason schedule tonight against the Colts. Chatterbox Bengals. Of course, Jacob will give you more on that coming up here in a bit. But we have more off the bench next.
Well, hey, chat. It's time. Pay the bills. Ad time. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible so we get back to the radio here. Pawnee Water, made right here in Hamilton, Ohio, uses natural limestone filtration, unlike the artificial processing other brands use, so being a healthy alkaline water, and some say the best tasting one in the world. Visit Pawnee Water, PAHHNI water.com so you can buy this great tasting water. And the future Bengals report / Chatterbox Bengals.
That's right.
That's right. Well, they're not sponsored by Encore,
I
but
was wondering where you were going with that.
yeah, silly name. But the Bengals report is
You should turn your head to the side. I want to see what the word on that hat is.
No.
No free ads. The Bengals report is proudly sponsored by Encore Technologies. At Encore, they deliver cutting-edge IT solutions for a data-driven world. From mobile computing and desktop support to advanced data center solutions, they help businesses enhance efficiency and productivity. We don't have time for that. Visit encore.tech where your path to innovation begins here. And then our ticketing sponsor app, Game Time. Love Game Time. Use them all year basically to watch pretty much every Reds game I've gone to this year. Plan on using it for plenty of Bengals tickets. They got lots of great deals going on right now for Bengals seasons tickets. They got Green Day going on here, I think today, right?
Yeah, I think I might use the Game Time app and go buy some Green Day tickets. I'm debating it. They're a great American ballpark.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great deal. You get to see exactly where you're sitting at, right? Pricing's all up front. And you know what? Last minute tickets, lowest prices. Always a guarantee. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code OTB for $20 off your first purchase. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Ooh.
Changing it up on
That's
it.
awesome.
Yeah. Some other housekeeping items. hit the like button, share this show with a friend.
That's right.
We really appreciate it. It helps us grow and reach more viewers like you. Thank you. And if you want to become a member so you can catch Chatterbox Bengals tonight, you can do so if you just go to our main homepage on YouTube. There's a little membership tab that you can click on. There's a $10 membership, gets you all video access that we have on our channel. There's a $25 membership, gets you a discount code for our merchandise store. And there's a other membership level, $500, where you can fire Reed, but he's already been fired.
That's
so
right.
I don't know
Kinner's
what
a proud
that's about.
subscriber.
Yeah, so I don't know what to do
No, I
about
started
that
the
one.
Bring Back Reed movement a little bit ago.
Oh, good,
I jumped
good.
in on that. I was adding to it.
Well, maybe what we can do is make it rehire Reed,
Hire Reed?
hire Reed for $500.
Fire Reed from the
Hired
unemployment
guy.
line.
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
Fire Reed from firing.
Yes.
I like that. I like that a lot. So maybe one of you can bring him back. I don't know. Other housekeeping items.
I've said it once, I've said it twice, I'll say it again. Chatterbox Bengals is back tonight. I'll be live streaming the whole game. We'll have a post-game show coming to you afterwards, and that is what you can expect for the entire season. As far as the Bengals go, no matter what, I'll be streaming the regular season games, post-game show right after, and then we're going to have more episodes coming to you Tuesdays and Thursdays throughout the season to keep you updated on all the Bengals news, all the happenings with the team. Super excited to get started with that, and it starts tonight, so make sure you're there. This preseason stream is going to be members only, but not sure if that's going to be the case for the regular season or not. But if you're a member, if you're not a member, become a member. If you are a member, make sure to join the stream tonight. It should be a good time.
Okay. And just to also add a little tidbit stuff, Jacob, being the host of Chatterbox Bengals, he's got some great stuff planned in the works. Some of you already mentioned that he's not going to be able to go to the game, so maybe he's got some tickets for you.
That's
Did you think
right.
about that?
You got to
guys think
watch.
about that?
You got to watch Chatterbox Bengals to find out.
Oh.
So, yeah, I would tune into that, become a member, because I think he's got some really great stuff every single week for the most part, at least for all the home games. And also, like you said already, Tuesdays and Thursdays, we're going to be bringing you action for Chatterbox Bengals there, too.
That's right.
So we're going to be hitting you with some Bengals news quite frequently, so tune into that when you can. That does it for all of our housekeeping items. Let's go back to the radio.
Oh.
Actually, I have no clue what a porpoise is. What the hell are you talking about?
I think it's a dolphin, no?
Yeah, it's a dolphin. I think.
Yeah, it's a dolphin.
Welcome back, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. So I heard you're giving away Bengals tickets on Chatterbox Bengals, possibly?
That's right. No, we don't know when. We don't know when. But as the season gets closer and closer, there will be ticket giveaways on Chatterbox Bengals.
I was going to ask you for tickets, and I'm like, no, I'm good.
No. Well, you're not.
No.
We'll see if you watch the show or not. Maybe you can.
I'm definitely watching the show.
Get a burner, and then you can be in my chat, and then
yeah.
then you can win the tickets and burn them, set them on fire.
I'll be Rat Cop or something.
Yeah.
How about that?
Rat
How about
Cop?
that? Yeah. And all the good nicknames are taken, you know?
Yeah, that's right.
All right, let's get to it. We welcome you back on 1410 ESPN Radio on the radio side, but Elliot brings you the headlines.
Oh, yeah.
Elliot loves three things: Joey Votto, David Bell, and leading off the bench with top headlines.
I do love Joey Votto, so that's true. The Reds. I write these out, even though we've talked about it for. How many segments have we done, by the way?
This is five.
A few of them.
This is 5?
Oh, yeah.
Man, what a day. Okay,
When the
the
best
Reds.
player in your franchise history retires, you can usually fill a show with some stuff.
That's right. The Reds win the series against the Blue Jays. First time ever in Toronto. We already mentioned it. They trailed by 6 runs. We already mentioned it. Entering the 4th inning, they scored 2 in the 4th, 5 in the 5th, 3 in the 6th. They win 11-7 last night. Nick Martinez, he got shelled 4 1/3, allowing 6 runs. The top 3 of the Reds lineup went 7 for 14. India went 2 for 5 with a home run. Couple of RBIs. We mentioned Elly De La Cruz, but I'll mention it again. 3 for 4, 3 runs scored. a stolen base, a home run, a walk. He did everything. Again, he is the 5th player ever in Major League history with the 20 home runs, 60 stolen base season. He joins Ronald Acuna, Eric Davis, Rickey Henderson, and Joe Morgan, if you missed it. The Reds are back at it tonight against the Pirates. Nick Lodolo, Paul Skenes. Lodolo's entering play with a 9-5 record and a 4.55 ERA. Skenes is 7-2 on the year with a 2.3 ERA. It should be good, if not, hopefully, at least competitive. But around the league, Ohtani closes in on being the fastest player ever to have a 40-40 season. He added another stolen base yesterday. Dodgers win 8-4 over the Mariners. The Rays, they beat the Athletics 4-2. Former Red Jose Siri was the hero. Did he ever play for the Reds, or was it just minor league system?
I don't know for sure. I know he was in the minor league system, though.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if he ever put on a Reds uniform. Angels get shut out 3-0, but 38-year-old Johnny Cueto gets a quality start. 6 1/3 innings pitched, 3 earned runs, and a couple of strikeouts. Got a standing ovation in Kansas City, which is pretty cool to say. Pretty cool to see. People forget he won a World Series there.
That's right.
Didn't win one here. Tigers obliterate the Cubs. Who cares about that one? Cardinals walk it off against
Carry Bonds.
That's right.
What a preposterous thing to say.
Carry. Cardinals walk it off against the Brewers on a Nolan Arenado walk-off grand slam. Phillies hold on to beat the Braves 3-2. Yankees crush the Guardians as Juan Soto has a 5 RBI night, and Aaron Judge, just for the hell of it, hit his 46th and 47th home run of the season. The White Sox, they won a game. They win 6-2 over the Giants. The Red Sox beat the Astros 4-1. Justin Verlander loses in his first start back. 5 innings, 2 earned runs for Justin Verlander.
Everyone's so focused on what Aaron Judge has been doing with the Yankees.
Yeah.
This is the best season of Juan Soto's career.
Correct.
He's a 7.6 WAR with a 430 OBP.
Oh yeah.
His OPS is over 1,000.
How many home runs? How many home runs does he have?
36.
Does he really?
He has an OPS of 190. OPS plus of 190.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He's been so good.
Yankee. How many years was that deal? Is that a
It was just one.
just 1 year deal?
I don't even think it was. Was it? I don't even know if it was a 1 year deal. I think it was what was left over.
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Jesse Winker gets his first home run as a Met. It was a walk-off to left center field, and the Pirates get shut out 1-0 against the Rangers. Outside of that, not too much other news other than the Bengals news, which we are going to talk about later in this segment.
All right, and that was Elliot with the headlines, again, off the bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410. ESPN Radio and Dayton. So let's move over to the Cincinnati Bengals talk. How long was what's the time we got?
You got 8 minutes.
Oh, it's plenty of time, dude.
Plenty of time.
Plenty of time. So I was kind of getting bored with the Jamar Chase stuff. I'm like, is he going to sign? Is he not? I mean, there's only so much you could do with that, and I think we've stretched it out as long as we could. Really not knowing what the things that I was curious about was, what is the holdup? Is it just the fact that Mike Brown says, hey, we're not negotiating now, that's for the offseason, or hey, you're still 2 years out, we're not worried about that now? Or are they negotiating? What is he asking for that they're just not willing to budge on at this point? Is it just positioning of the money, up front versus the back end, loading it? What's going on? So for the first time, Jacob, we got an indication yesterday of not just, we knew that Jamar Chase wants an extension, and I thought it was going to be in that, obviously Justin Jefferson range, but it's well surpassed that. It is well past that. The thing what do you mean?
It far surpassed that?
I mean, you talk about 140. I know the way
the average annual value of Jamar Chase's deal on a $40 million a year extension with the 2 years left on his contract.
Yep.
And the average annual value on Justin Jefferson's with 1 year left on his contract at $35 a year. Jamar's only making $0.4 million more than Justin Jefferson per year if he gets $40 a year versus Justin's $35, because he does have 2 years left on his contract. So I think the $40 million a year number jumped out to everybody at first. When you really look into it, it's not that much more than Justin Jefferson, and we've all said he was going to get more than that $35 million a year number already. So it is more, but I think it's important to remember that there's 2 years left on Justin's deal, or on Jamar's deal as well.
I think that if you're the Cincinnati Bengals, you know he was going to be the highest paid wide receiver when you made that contract, or whenever you do make that contract. It's just how the league works. When you have a top 10 wide receiver, you have a top 10 quarterback, you have to try to win games, and the way to win games is you have to have Joe Burrow throwing to Jamar Chase. I think that's the key. $40 million is a lot of money. There's no question about it, and it certainly might hurt maybe the Bengals' cap in the future. Again, I'm not a cap guy, so maybe I'm wrong on that, but it's certainly a lot of money to be paying two individual players. Saying that, that's how the Bengals win games. That direct connection, Joe Burrow to Jamar Chase. That's how the Bengals win going forward. That's the plan for success. And if I'm the Cincinnati Bengals, I take that number and I say we can either win with Jamar Chase or we can take our chances without Jamar Chase and see whatever happens. If I were the Cincinnati Bengals, I would try to win with Jamar Chase, and that means paying him $40 million a year. And I don't know if that's what they'll settle on. Maybe that's the holdup. Maybe it'll be 38 a year, 37 a year. But it's going to be at least 35 a year with a max at 40 a year is probably what we're looking at. So if I'm the Brown family, pay the guy. Pay the guy and let's go try to win a Super Bowl.
When reports come out this high, when the market was just reset, I usually lean agent leak more than anything. It just feels like you're trying to drive up the price. Feels like, we haven't heard anything about these negotiations the entire summer.
We didn't even know if there was actually negotiations
right,
going
and then
on.
now we hear that he's been asking for the biggest deal in the history of the skill positions, in the middle of August, right before the season starts. It feels to me like a Hail Mary from the agent to try to drive that number up a little bit more, but obviously I don't know that. I'm just speculating. And this number does make sense, though. The number, it jumps off the page because it is 40 a year, but the number makes sense for what Jamar would be asking for. Anything less, he'd be really getting, second or third wide receiver money, which is obviously still phenomenal, and we can debate whether or not he's better than Justin Jefferson or not, but it's not about who's better, it's about who gets paid most recently, and that's how it works for every sport and every position, and Jamar is the guy who's up next, and he's going to get more than Justin Jefferson, and that's why I think 40 is his starting point, and whether that's his ending point, I'm not sure. I certainly hope that's the cap, but
yeah,
I could feasibly see it going higher.
It would be $10 million more guaranteed, roughly at that, right?
But you have the extra year of control.
Okay.
So, yes, but it doesn't hurt as much as it seems like it would hurt.
Yeah.
Now, it will hurt much more if they don't get the deal done
Right.
at those numbers this year. So that's where I'm a little panicking right now about it, because if they don't get it, if they are just content with him with those numbers on his 5th-year deal, that's not good. That's like that you lose that extra bit of control. The cap numbers would skyrocket the following years. Now they would be more in line with when Joe Burrow and his cap numbers and when those hits are, but it's still like they're massive amounts of number. I'm just looking at a mock right here in 2028. If they were to go through with this theoretical deal right this second, his cap number in the first 2 years, in 2024 and 2025, is 13 and 15. And in 2026, it jumps to 37.9, 27, 39.4, 28, 44.4, 2029, 41.8. Those are just massive numbers at the moment that would only get worse.
Isn't Burrow's contract is backloaded, right? So, I thought I saw he wouldn't actually have a major cap hit on the team until 29 anyways, right?
I thought it was 28.
28?
Yeah.
So you're going to run into a point. There's no team in the history of the NFL that has a perfect cap situation to where you're never going to have an oh my God number. And if you could get Jamar and Burrow's contracts done, if his contract's hitting you hard for a couple years before Burrow's, that's a win-win. You're not going to have these two contracts and at no point not be hit by one of them. So that actually kind of makes sense. If you're going to be hit by his contract first for a couple years and then Burrow's, and then you're reevaluating what you're doing with those two to begin with at that point. Not really those two. You're keeping Burrow, so you're reevaluating wide receiver at that point. I just don't think there's anything you can do to manipulate it to where at no point are you getting hit by either of those contracts. That's just the nature of this.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I just think with the number being this high, the importance of re-signing him this offseason skyrockets, because using that extra year to offset the cap hit, the signing bonus, and all that stuff is so crucial, because, like you said, you can't avoid it. You're gonna have two guys that are making $90 million. It's a tough place to be when you're trying to field a team of 22, and it's gonna be tough. But to be able to have extra years of flexibility, that's why, and I'm gonna compliment the Browns. That's why we've seen the Browns be able to work around this Deshaun Watson contract at least to a respectable level where they're still putting a competent team on the field when they guaranteed him $250 million, it's because they've been able to manipulate his signing bonus and move the money around and free up cash to go sign other people. And having that extra year for Jamar allows the Bengals to do that. I know Mike Brown is not a cash-rich owner. That's a completely different debate, but that's even why it's more important to have this extra year to move the money around and make sure that hit. Even if it's $35 million, that's a lot better than $40 million, $42 million, whatever it is when you get to the back half of that contract, especially if that's when Burrow's cap hits are $55, $57 million as well. So you got to be able to be smart about it, and I really do have faith in the Bengals that if the number is this high, they're going to recognize the benefits of re-signing him this offseason and get it done. Or I'm just missing something, and that they see something that I don't see and a benefit of re-signing him next year. But the way I'm looking at it at just surface value, basically, is there is no reason not to extend him at this offseason if this is his ask. Because I would walk in there tomorrow if this is his ask, put it on a piece of paper and say, sign it.
Yeah.
So the most fascinating part about this is now we know if it was an agent leak, and I think that's what it was. I think it's been fascinating that it's been, 18 days, 19 days of camp, and that's the first leak of anything. That wasn't put out by accident. That was put out. I think that's Jamar Chase's camp saying, hey, this is what we're asking for. So what that says to me is a couple things. For one, fans are starting to get antsy and get a little bit more vocal on social media, and they're starting to not turn on Jamar, but they're starting to be a little bit more chattier towards him, right? This is done to say, hey, guys, this is what I'm asking for. I don't think it's that crazy. Now it's turning the attention towards the Bengals, so now the Bengals have to react. Almost like letting fans know, hey, this is what I am wanting. I'm holding out until I get this, just so you guys know where I'm at. I'm not asking for something that is that obscene. And now, everyone, we go from looking at Jamar to turning our chair to look at the Bengals like your move. You knew you were going to get – the whole reason that T. Higgins is on the franchise tag and you didn't do an extension is because you knew you were moving forward with Burrow and Chase. So you knew you were doing this. This isn't we're still trying to decide, is it T or is it Jamar? You know it's Jamar. If that's what he's asking for, what is the holdup? That's the big question. And is it, I know this sounds silly, do they just not have the money for the upfront bonuses? Because the whole reason they did the pay core structure was because they needed to get that money up front. That's not just a quarterback thing. That is any big contract thing to sign him up front, to give him the signing bonus. You have to have that money up front. Do they not have that money up front? Were they not anticipating having to be ready for this until next off season? That's what I'm curious about as far as I'm concerned.
My guess would be that they're fine with 4 years, 160. They're not fine with 120 guaranteed.
Yeah.
That would be my guess on the holdup, because that 120 guaranteed number is
It all goes
awfully
to escrow.
high.
It all goes to escrow immediately.
Right.
So most of it's like,
And that's why I asked, do they not
It's
have
like
it?
80% or something. Yeah.
I don't know if they don't have it. It's hard to believe that NFL owners aren't making obscene amount of money. Regardless of what we want to think of the Brown family, I think they have enough money to pay Jamar in terms of putting it into escrow. I think the issue, like you said, is just the guarantees. They don't like guaranteeing past the first couple seasons of your contract, and they do it on special occasions, like with quarterbacks, like with Joe Burrow. They did it, I believe, with A.J. Green, but it wasn't like an obscene, crazy amount extra that they guaranteed past the first couple seasons. I think they only guaranteed like half of that third year in that 4 or 5 year extension. So this would be unprecedented for them to guarantee more money past that first couple seasons. 120 is like, I think, years 1, 2, and 3 basically fully guaranteed in his contract, maybe even more than that. So I think that's where their holdup is at this moment. I still would go ahead and do it anyways, because majority of the time the reason why they do that is because they're worried about the age 30 seasons for these guys. But if you do this now, if you sign Jamar Chase now, like he'll be still well under that age range that you're worried about of that decline.
Now, this is 4 years on top of the 2 he has remaining,
Correct.
right? So
Right.
technically 6 years. He'd be 29 when that's done. So it's not like he's 28 years old and trying to get this deal, and that's why you're skeptical. Like this, I agree with you. What are you waiting on?
I want somebody, and if it has to be me, I'll get in my car and I'll drive down there. I want someone to walk into Mike Brown's office and say, are you going to re-sign Jamar or not? Yes or no answer. I don't care about the money. Ignore the contract structure.
Yeah.
Is Jamar Chase going to be a Bengal or not? Yes or no? If the answer is yes, sign the contract.
Yeah.
If the answer is no, let's figure out how we're going to move on from him.
Yep.
Whether it's playing this year, tagging him and trading him, or whatever the move is, you're not letting him walk for free. He needs to answer, and I know he sat up there and he said they're bending over backwards and they're doing everything they can. Well, it doesn't look like it. Bending over backwards would be having this deal done a month ago.
Yep.
So they're not bending over backwards. They're not doing everything they can to get this deal done. And I'm not saying that that's the wrong way to go about it. I think ownership bending backwards for a player to meet their needs is probably not a successful way to build an entire roster. But if you want to get it done and you plan on getting it done, then get it done. Because at some point, and at some point very soon, it's going to start affecting regular season play.
Last thing on this, I know we're over a little bit, but 120, that's the holdup. Is that's what you think? Okay, what's the number that doesn't make it a holdup then? Is it 110? Is it 100?
I legitimately think it's 110.
So Mike Brown's going to F around over $10 million.
That's my point.
That's the stuff that's annoying. Like if it's like, oh man, he's asking for 30 more million than what they're comfortable. Again, still don't feel bad, but I understand. But we're 10. You're quabbling over 10. If that's the case.
Well, because I don't think there's any way Chase will take less than what Justin Jefferson got, and I think the Bengals are sitting there saying, "This is what Justin Jefferson got."
And why
do you want
right?
10? Yeah, he got 110. Okay. Why do you want 10 million more? It's $10 million.
Yeah,
that would change my life. It would change your life. It would change everyone in the chat's life. But it's $10 million you want on an NFL team. Sign the guy.
I could also argue, like, if we want to talk about the value there, what he's actually brought to the team, you don't beat the Chiefs. Like, you don't even get that chance to make it into the playoffs. I just, like, you need Jamar. You need him. You need him. And he has shown you time and time again that he's a top 3 receiver, maybe even the best receiver in the league. So I feel like you should pay him accordingly. The only way that you're going to get those numbers to make it make sense for the team is doing it now. You cannot wait till next year. If he goes into next year, I almost guarantee this. If those are the numbers that he's asking for next season,
it's even higher.
They might even get higher than that.
Oh yeah.
And you're not going to be able to do it. You're not going to be able to sustain those type of cap hits on this team and still field out a good team. It's just not going to be possible. So do it now. Do it now before he wants more. Can you imagine CeeDee Lamb signing something even crazier, and then he goes in there and he's like, all right, I want 45 now a year. Like, just don't risk it. Do it now. Do it now.
I agree. 100% agree. And for everyone freaking out about him missing camp, he sat out the entire 2020 college football season and came in and was pretty good.
Yeah.
Well, so
he needed camp, though. To
right, but he was out for an entire season, and then he was fine. So I think he'll be fine. He'll be fine.
Yeah, he'll be fine by November, and that's when the season starts. So
Correct.
we're good, right? Like, isn't that what we learned yesterday?
Correct.
Like, as long as
Well, that's what I mean.
He's going to say yes. Yes, at the end of the day.
Yes.
All right, Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers, Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. We'll be right back. Even the super chats that you don't agree with, you have to read.
That's right.
You have to tough it out, and that's what our guy Elliot is doing right now. Let everyone know everyone, of course, in the YouTube side, but the radio listeners who have maybe not participated on the YouTube side. What is a super chat, dude?
A super chat is when you watch a YouTube stream and you say, I want my message to be read on the air, and in order to do so, I'm going to highlight it by paying for it. So this chatter named Justin Edgel paid us $4.99 to say, thanks for nothing, Joey. 1,300 losses in 16 years. See ya. 17 years.
Get it right.
If we're going to insult him, at least be accurate.
That was.
Well, it's just like, it's like, I wouldn't pay $4.99 to slander Joey Votto, but some people do, and that's okay. We love Justin.
And I'll get lunch, so thank you.
Thank you very much, Justin.
Off the Bench, presented by. I'm not saying anything about Votto anymore. I'm retiring. Some people aren't emotionally strong enough to handle it. Elliot is, but some others aren't, as far as that's concerned. Just to be clear, so I'm sidestepping everything. I'm just moving on. We close out the radio side. The NFL We talked about this when the Olympics wrapped up, that flag football will be a part of the 2028 Olympics. And we were trying to figure out, would we see active NFL players actually participate in the Olympics? And thought it was interesting that this came out the other day that the NFL is actively working on making sure that their players get to play in the first ever Olympic flag football games, league executive Jeff Miller said, and which is very unique. Look, we saw the pre-promotion or the promotional video for flag football coming to LA in 2028. It was Jalen Hurts who was in that commercial, which that should have been the first clue that, hey, maybe we will see NFL players there. Now, one thing I did learn is, I didn't know. I mean, there's actually professional flag football leagues. I didn't know that. I did not know that was that competitive of a field. And there's one player I've never heard of that now is getting talked about a lot, who is now getting a little territorial of his flag football space because now the pros from the NFL might be implemented into the Olympics in 2028. And this particular guy is not happy. This is a flag football quarterback who is not happy and is taking shots at Patrick Mahomes. Take a look.
At the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of my IQ of the game. I know he's right now the best in the league. I know he's more accurate. I know he has all these intangibles. But when it comes to flag football, I feel like I know more than him. At the end of the day.
All right, now that was flag football quarterback Darrell Doucette. He says he is a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes. He goes, at the end of the day, I feel like I'm better than Patrick Mahomes because of his IQ. He's smarter than Patrick Mahomes. Now, I'm going to let Jake get to this because I know you have the same take. That there's a certain point where you can kind of sympathize with these guys a little bit, but then you do what you're not supposed to. You poke the bear and you take it a little too far. Thoughts on, first of all, I never heard of Darrell Doucette. I didn't know that there was that high level of a competitive flag football league that we would actually consider these guys to go represent the country to go win gold, when we are known in this country for having the best football players ever all around the world. So find this all very fascinating stuff. Very territorial Doucette is being at this point.
Round of applause to Mr. Doucette for what he's been able to do for the game of flag football, bringing it to a point of prominence where it has a chance to be in the Olympics. I think it's very, very cool, and I'm going to really enjoy watching the NFL players play in it. So I think that's the best way I can put that. Look, I understand his first quote when he said, why do they think they can just slide in here and play? I think he used probably the wrong words, but he made a good point. Look, these guys have played for who knows how long, decade plus maybe.
Yeah.
And to build this sport to a level where it has respect and it has sponsorships and it has, all these other things, competitive teams and good players to a point where it's in the conversation to be in the Olympics. And then it finally gets in the Olympics and these guys think they have a chance to go play in the Olympics. And then everyone in the world just immediately points to the NFL players and saying they're going to take your spot. So I understand why he would be upset about that, but he doesn't legitimately think he's a better quarterback than Patrick Mahomes.
I think he does. I think
Smarter,
that's unfortunately the issue.
Right. Well, it's all the IQ. Patrick Mahomes has never played flag football before. Everyone knows it's such a drastically different game.
Very different.
100%. Yeah, no.
Much more difficult.
Right. Avoiding Aaron Donald in pads is a lot harder than avoiding
To be
Mr.
fair,
Doucette with
Mahomes
flags.
might get hit
Well,
more
he
in
has-
flag football. To be fair, he might get hit more in flag football.
They
don't
call back
protect
his
him as much. Yeah.
interceptions. But yeah, no, I think it's going to be all NFL players. I think it's great the NFL is putting this at the forefront of their priorities and getting these guys the ability to play, because I think it's good for the sport. And whether that's real football or flag football, and maybe I shouldn't call it tackle football and flag football. They're
Yeah.
both real sports.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I think it's good for both sports. I think it'd be cool to have football on a more national scale. Obviously, it's focused in America, and that's where all the players are from and play, and we're the only country that has it. So I don't know how it's going to go in the Olympics, but it'll be interesting. I think it'll be fun, and I understand why these guys are upset about it, the flag football players. But when you start doing stuff like this, I look back at Noah Lyles, and I'm not comparing Mr. Doucette to Noah Lyles, because Noah Lyles is a world champion gold medalist. Maybe he would have been a gold medalist too, so I don't know. But a world champion, all that good stuff. And he came out and talked about the NBA and how they're not world champions unless you win the Olympics. And that made him a bigger name than he's ever been, ever.
Yeah.
And it was huge for track. More people watched track this year, whether you were hate watching or cheering for Noah Lyles, whichever one it was. More people were dialed into track in the Olympics this year than maybe ever before. And I think this guy saw that and he sees an opportunity for himself to make a name for himself, get a little bigger. I believe he's 39 or will be 39 by the time the Olympics rolls around. So he might have an exit strategy to the flag football game and build up a little social media presence or something. That's what I'm taking this as. I think he's just trying to make a name for himself before his job gets taken.
Yeah, I'm sure bowlers get upset that Mookie Betts is really good at bowling. I'm sure collegiate golfers got mad that J.R. Smith was competing in collegiate golf events, stealing all their thunder, and they have a right to be a little bit jealous.
WNBA got mad that a real basketball player, Caitlin Clark, came in to
That's
teach
right.
him how. I mean,
yeah, that's fair too. Listen. I understand the jealousy, understand the frustration. They want to win. They want the ability to win gold. If they can't have the $100 million guaranteed contracts, we at least like the ability to win the gold medal. And I understand that logic completely. But at the same time, people will care about flag football because of the NFL players, not vice versa.
But see, here's the problem. Like, this Daryl Doucette is the guy's name. He had a chance to be a sympathetic figure. He probably would have garnered a lot of support from people around the country. Maybe not to be the favorite to go lead the flag football in the Olympics, but like, I think I sympathized at first. I still want to see the NFL guys in there, but I do feel bad. This is a guy that, he plays in the American Flag Football League. All right, he led, so they played in the U.S. Open of Football tournament, and they won the U.S. Flag Football. He led the U.S. Flag Football team to the 2022 World Championship. Okay, so he thinks that the players need to earn their spot for the 28 U.S. Olympic team. But here's the thing, Daryl Doucette, who just said he's better than Patrick Mahomes, he didn't even play football in college. Okay, so
What if he could have?
he could, what I mean by this is the sympathetic figure. I could understand why this is what you're known for. You've led a U.S. team to a world championship in this tournament, and I get that, and I think that people could have sympathized. Like, yeah, the NFL guys coming in and throwing their weight around and being bullies. But now that you've come out and said you're better than Patrick Mahomes, now we're mocking you. Now I'm laughing at you, and now I no longer feel bad. So, yes, at the end of the day, I do just want to watch Joe Burrow or Patrick Mahomes or, real players who play the game at the highest level, who played in college, and I know not flag football, but let's not overcomplicate this. Let's not pretend that there's a gigantic difference between the skill set of flag football and the NFL.
I have another big fix for this. I think this would help.
Yeah.
So for the last however many years, we've been looking at how to fix NFL All-Star Weekend.
Yeah.
For the next 4 years, let's play the NFL flag football team against the USA flag football team.
Yeah.
And whoever wins the series represents the U.S. in the Olympics.
I like that. I like that a lot.
If you're tied 2-2, play a game 5 right before the Olympics.
No, we'll say.
I have a feeling it's not going to be tied 2-2.
Well, we can say if it's tied, we'll even give that to the flag football guys.
Sure. If it's tied, we'll give it to the flag football guys.
If they tie it, no changes.
I think the current flag football team should play the NFL All-Star team in the Pro Bowl, in flag football.
In flag football.
And real football.
I'm sure Tyreek Hill wouldn't tear that league up.
It would be very fun to watch, and I think we'd find out about 5 minutes into the game that, hey, I think the NFL guys are going to play.
A little better. There might be a little bit better. To end the show, we're going to end it on a positive note. If that's okay with you, we only got 20 seconds here. It's a positive note. Caleb Hines, $1.99, adding to the Fire Kinner Fund.
Yeah. Finally, I'm helping raise money for the company, as I said
Stacking
earlier.
up.
Oh, he doesn't have my opinion. Fire him. Oh, God. Oh. People call me every name in the book, and then when I finally respond, oh, he's attacking the viewers. He hates the viewers. I'm not attacking all the viewers. You literally made it personal. Then when I respond, I'm the bad guy. You all.
We're gonna get this chat to love you one day.
No.
Yes.
There's a lot of people that do like me. The loud people in the chat, and I'm not saying that they don't matter, but what they need to learn is you can't call names and throw out insults and then expect me to say, oh, by golly, go Bengals, who day.
You do say by golly a lot.
By golly. Oh, who day. Oh, man. Oh, man.
I'm clipping that.
By golly, who day.
I'm absolutely clipping that.
And with that, we should have just ended with the positivity, but,
you guys will see that by golly who day clip as soon as pen touches paper for Jamar Chase.
By golly who day.
That's the tweet.
Damn it. All right, folks, have a great rest of your day. That wraps it up for us here. Chatterbox Sports on YouTube, 1410 ESPN Radio in Dayton. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, Jacob Tissett. This has been Off the Bench, presented by United Dairy Farmers.